Have you ever met someone who doesn't raise their voice, yet the entire room leans in when they speak? Someone whose words land softly, but stay with you for days. Someone who doesn't force, doesn't push, doesn't argue, but somehow people follow them anyway. That is the art of persuasion. Not manipulation, not pressure, but presence, a quiet influence that moves decisions, shapes emotions, and opens doors without making a sound. Most people think persuasion is a loud skill, a performance, a trick to win someone over. But true persuasion is the opposite. It is calm, it is slow, it is psychological. It is the ability to understand how people think, what they feel, and why they respond the way they do, and to align your words with the deepest parts of their human nature. Persuasion is not about changing people. It is about connecting with people. It is not about overpowering them. It is about guiding them. And when done with clarity, empathy, and intention, persuasion becomes the most powerful skill you can carry into your relationships, your career, your leadership, and your life. Inside this audiobook, we will go beyond tactics, beyond communication hacks, beyond surface-level charisma. We will step into the psychology, the energy, and the emotional intelligence behind true influence, the kind that feels natural, ethical, and effortless. So take a deep breath, settle in, let your mind soften. Because once you understand the invisible forces that shape human behavior, you'll never experience communication the same way again. Welcome to the Art of Persuasion. Influence has always existed around you, long before you ever tried to understand it. It shaped the choices you made as a child, the people you admired as a teenager, and the decisions you stand by as an adult. Influence is invisible, but its fingerprints are everywhere on your habits, your beliefs, your relationships, and your perception of the world. To master persuasion, you must first understand this truth. Human beings do not make decisions logically. We make them emotionally, then justify them logically. Once you understand this, everything changes. Think about the last time you made a decision you felt strongly about. Maybe it was accepting a job offer, choosing a partner, walking away from something that no longer aligned with you, or buying something you didn't plan to buy. The moment of decision was emotional. The explanation you gave yourself afterward was logical. This is why influence is less about the words you choose and more about the state you create in the mind of the person listening. People don't follow information. They follow emotion, clarity, and certainty. They follow the person who makes them feel understood. They follow the voice that speaks to something deeper than logic, something instinctive. Imagine two people presenting the same idea. One is technically correct, but stiff, detached, trying to prove a point. The other is calm, grounded, and deeply attuned to the room. Their presence alone lowers resistance. Their confidence transfers. Their words feel like a bridge, not a battle. You already know which person you would listen to. This is the heart of persuasion. People follow the messenger before they follow the message. To influence anyone, you must understand the psychological forces working beneath every interaction. And one of the most important forces is this: humans are wired to conserve energy. We take mental shortcuts. We rely on feelings, familiarity, and first impressions. We judge quickly and deeply based on subtle cues: tone, posture, pacing, warmth, intention. This is not weakness, it is simply how the human brain is designed. And when you learn to communicate with these instincts instead of against them, persuasion becomes effortless. Another invisible force shaping influence is trust. Trust is not built by being perfect. It is built by being consistent, by being the same person in every room, by not trying too hard, by showing that your intentions are clean. When someone trusts you, they let down internal barriers. Their mind opens. Their resistance softens. Their emotional guard lowers. And now, your words can land. Think of trust as the doorway. Logic is what walks through it. But without the doorway, nothing gets in. Persuasion begins long before you speak. It begins with how you make someone feel. People listen differently when they feel safe. They respond differently when they feel seen. This is why emotional intelligence is at the core of influence. It's not about being charming. It's about being aware. Aware of the emotions in the room. Aware of the fears behind someone's resistance. Aware of the desires behind someone's decisions. Every human being, no matter how rational they appear, carries an internal world of hopes, insecurities, doubts, and dreams. The person who understands this internal world can communicate in a way that resonates at a deeper frequency. Influence is not force, it is alignment. It is guiding someone toward a conclusion they already want to reach, but could not articulate on their own. It is helping them see the clarity inside themselves. When you understand human influence, you also understand why the loudest person is rarely the most persuasive. The person who talks endlessly, pressures aggressively, or tries to dominate the space, activates resistance. Not agreement, but the one who listens first, who observes before responding, who chooses words like a craftsman. That person becomes magnetic. Persuasion starts with presence, because presence shapes perception, and perception shapes everything that follows. When people sense calmness in you, they borrow that calmness. When they sense certainty in you, they trust your direction. When they sense you truly understand them, they lower their defenses and open their mind. This is why the greatest persuaders are not manipulators, they are mirrors. They reflect back what the other person feels, fears, and desires. They guide without pushing. They influence without forcing. Influence becomes effortless when you understand what people actually want. To feel understood, to feel respected, to feel safe, to feel like their decisions are their own. Persuasion honors these desires. Manipulation violates them. As you move deeper into this audiobook, you will discover that persuasion is less about learning something new and more about remembering something ancient within you, your ability to connect, to understand, to translate emotions into clarity, and to guide others toward insight. Human influence is not a trick. It is a presence. It is a psychology. It is an energy that moves subtly, quietly, powerfully. And once you understand the invisible forces behind human behavior, you don't just communicate better, you transform how people feel in your presence. In the next chapter, we will explore the foundation of persuasive power. Your credibility, why people believe you, follow you, and trust your voice. Why do people say yes? What actually happens inside the human mind right at the moment someone agrees, accepts, opens up, or follows your lead? It's easy to think people say yes because of logic, because the argument makes sense. because the facts line up. But the truth is softer than that, more emotional, more human. People say yes when something inside them relaxes, when a tension melts, when an internal maybe slowly warms into a yes. Imagine a frozen lake at dawn. The surface looks solid, unbreakable, but as the sun rises, the ice thins, softens, loosens. Influence works the same way. People don't say yes because you break their resistance. They say yes because you melt it. To understand persuasion, you must understand that melting point. People say yes when they feel safe. People say yes when they feel seen. People say yes when they feel understood without being judged. And most importantly, people say yes when the decision feels like it came from within them, not from you. Influence is not about pushing, it's about aligning. It's about guiding someone toward a conclusion their heart already resonates with, even if their mind hasn't articulated it yet. Think about the last time someone persuaded you. Really think about it. You didn't say yes because they won the argument. You said yes because something in you whispered, "I trust this. I feel good about this. This makes sense for me." That whisper is the psychology of yes. Underneath every yes is a story, a small emotional narrative people don't say out loud. Sometimes it's the desire to avoid risk. Sometimes it's the longing for certainty. Sometimes it's the need to feel valued, recognized, or understood. Sometimes it's as simple as, "You make it easy for me to choose." People think they choose with the mind, but the mind only justifies what the heart already leaned toward. And that leaning is shaped by three subtle forces: familiarity, safety, emotional clarity. Let's start with familiarity. The human brain loves what it knows. We say yes more easily to people who feel familiar, not because we know them, but because our nervous system recognizes their energy. This is why calm persuaders are powerful. Calmness feels familiar. It feels safe. It feels stable. And safety is the second force behind a yes. Safety isn't about proving you're trustworthy through impressive words or credentials. Safety is an emotional experience. It's the sense that you're not here to overpower me. You're not rushing me. You're not trying to win. You're simply here with me, not against me. When someone feels emotionally safe, their mind opens, the walls lower, the internal guard unclenches. Every yes begins with that unclenching. But perhaps the most underrated force, the one almost nobody talks about, is emotional clarity. People rarely say yes to what they don't understand emotionally. If the idea feels blurry, heavy, pressured, or chaotic, the answer is almost always no. Not because the idea is wrong, but because the emotional experience is unclear. Influential people help others see themselves with more clarity. They don't overwhelm. They simplify. They don't talk louder. They talk slower. They don't add pressure. They remove noise. When someone feels clarity, even a difficult decision becomes surprisingly easy. This is why the most persuasive people feel like quiet water, not crashing waves. They don't try to dominate the space. Their presence creates space. Space to think. Space to reflect. Space to feel the truth inside the message. And inside that space, the yes rises naturally. Now here's something essential. People never say yes to the idea first. They say yes to the feeling the idea gives them. An idea that feels empowering, yes. An idea that feels overwhelming, no. An idea that feels aligned with who they believe themselves to be, yes. An idea that threatens that identity, no. This is why persuasion is not about changing someone. It's about showing them a version of themselves they already want to step into. The psychology of yes is ultimately the psychology of identity. People say yes when your message reflects who they want to become. They say yes when you help them see a better version of themselves. They say yes when your words feel like a mirror, not a hammer. A yes is not logical. It's emotional alignment. Think of it like tuning a guitar. You don't force the string into place. You gently adjust the tension until the vibration resonates. Influence is resonance. A yes is resonance. And to create resonance, you must slow down. Breathe deeper. Speak with intention. Listen between the lines. Notice micro shifts in tone, silence, and tension. Because persuasion is not about saying the right words, it's about saying them at the right frequency. When you speak from calmness, you transmit calmness. When you speak with clarity, you create clarity. When you speak with grounded certainty, you give others permission to feel certain too. When you understand this, you no longer chase the yes. You create the conditions where yes becomes the natural outcome. In the next chapter, we will unlock one of the rarest abilities of great persuaders, emotional intelligence, the radar that lets you read people like an open book, the beats of their tone, the rhythm of their emotions, the unspoken truths behind their reactions. When you can read people, you can lead people. Imagine this. You walk into a room, and without anyone saying a single word, you already know what's happening. You feel the tension in the air. You sense who's open, who's guarded, who's excited, who's silently resisting. You pick up the tiny shifts, a micro-expression, a subtle Inhale, a quiet drop in someone's tone. Nothing loud, nothing obvious, just waves beneath the surface. That ability, that quiet sensitivity, is emotional intelligence. And in persuasion, it's the closest thing to a superpower. Because people do not reveal themselves through words. They reveal themselves through their energy, their rhythm, their emotional temperature, the subtle signals their body leaks when their mind is still trying to stay composed. A true influencer doesn't guess. They sense. Think of emotional intelligence as a radar. Silent, wide, always scanning, not to judge, but to understand. This radar lets you read people like an open book, not by analyzing them, but by feeling them, because persuasion doesn't begin with talking. It begins with tuning into someone's emotional frequency. Let's slow down and step into that radar. 1. Reading the room, the emotional weather. Every room has a psychological climate. Some rooms feel warm and bright. Some feel cold and tight. Some feel heavy, like the air is carrying unspoken tension. Most people walk through these climates blindly. Influencers feel them instantly. The moment you enter a space, your nervous system receives micro-signals, the stiffness in someone's shoulders, the way a person avoids eye contact, the silence that lingers too long after a joke, or the fast tapping of someone's foot under the table. These are not random gestures. They're emotional weather patterns. When you can read them, you know exactly how to position your message, when to speak softly, when to slow down, when to match someone's energy or gently lower it. People trust those who can feel them without forcing them to explain. 2. Reading people's eyes. Breath. Tension influence isn't about talking your way through resistance. It's about detecting resistance before it becomes visible. How? By observing the 3 most honest emotional signals. The eyes. Eyes contract when skeptical. They soften when someone feels safe. They widen slightly when someone becomes curious. The eyes reveal what the mouth hides. The breath. Breathing says everything. Shallow breath equal guarded. Held breath equal conflicted. Deepening breath equal opening. Matching your rhythm to someone's breath is one of the fastest ways to create rapport without a single word. The micro-tensions, jaw tightening, hands fidgeting, a slight shift of weight, a micro-freeze. These tiny cues show when someone is resisting emotionally, even if they are agreeing verbally. When you learn to see these signals, persuasion becomes effortless, almost intuitive. You don't push, you adjust, you adapt, you harmonize, like a musician tuning to the room's acoustics. 3. Emotional echoing, the secret of instant rapport. People don't trust those who perform. They trust those who make them feel, you get me. Emotional echoing means reflecting, not copying the person's emotional state back to them in a grounded, calm way. If they're anxious, you don't get louder, you get softer. If they're excited, you let your energy lift just a little. If they're drained, you slow down even more. The goal isn't imitation, it's alignment. When you match someone's emotional tempo, their nervous system subconsciously whispers, this person understands me. This person is safe. I don't need my guard. And a lowered guard is the doorway to influence. 4. The invisible skill, listening between the lines. Emotional intelligence is listening to what people don't say, between the sentences, between the breaths, between the drops in tone. Most people listen to respond. Influential people listen to receive. They hear the uncertainty behind someone's confidence. They hear the fear behind someone's anger. They hear the longing behind someone's hesitation. This is not surface listening. This is emotional listening. And when someone feels emotionally understood, they automatically become more open to your perspective. Because feeling understood is one of the deepest human needs. 5. Regulating yourself, the core of influence. People don't get influenced by your words. They get influenced by your nervous system. If you are shaky, they will feel it. If you are tense, they will mirror it. If you are centered, calm, grounded, their body unconsciously synchronizes. This is why true influencers don't just manage the room, they manage themselves. Your presence must say, I'm here. I'm steady. You're safe with me. When your internal state is calm, you create calmness around you. And calmness is what opens people. 6. Why EI makes you unusually persuasive. Because people don't resist what feels safe. They resist what feels intrusive. They resist what feels misaligned. They resist what feels rushed or misunderstood. But emotional intelligence dissolves all four. It creates alignment. It creates safety. It creates understanding. It creates clarity. When someone feels emotionally seen, they don't just listen. They lean in. That leaning is the beginning of influence. 7. The gift of the radar. As your radar sharpens, you will notice something profound. People are constantly communicating, even when silent. Their posture is a paragraph. Their breath is a sentence. Their eyes are a full chapter. And you become someone who can read the story hidden beneath the story. This is the art of subtle influence. Soft, quiet, deep, unforced. In the next chapter, we turn to a power even more important, credibility. The presence that makes people trust you instantly, not through skills, not through technique, but through the energy you carry when you walk into the room. Because people don't listen to skills, people listen to presence. Before anyone listens to your words, before they analyze your logic, before they consider your request, they are already deciding one thing: do I trust you? Credibility is not built in sentences. It's built in seconds. In the first few breaths someone takes around you, in the way your presence lands in their nervous system. People think credibility is about skills, technique, achievements, or proof. But true credibility, the kind that makes people open up, follow your lead, and feel safe in your energy, comes from something much deeper. It comes from who you are while you speak. Not what you say. Presence before language. Integrity before arguments. Energy before influence. Because people don't listen to skills. People listen to presence. 1. The silent language of credibility. Credibility is a frequency. You don't announce it. You don't try for it. You don't perform it. You embody it. Others feel it through the steadiness in your voice, the clarity in your eyes, the calmness in your breath, the grounded confidence in your posture. Before you communicate a single idea, your presence is already telling a story on your behalf. Can I trust this person? Do they believe what they're saying? Are they centered? Or are they performing? Are they speaking from truth or from ego? This is why some people can say the simplest things and we believe them, while others say the most convincing arguments, and we sense something feels off. Credibility is felt, not calculated. 2. The foundation: internal clarity. You cannot persuade someone if you cannot persuade yourself. Credibility begins with inner alignment, knowing what you stand for, what you won't compromise, what you believe even when no one is watching. When your values are clear, your communication becomes clean. People trust clean energy, clean motivation, clean intention. If your intentions are mixed, your energy becomes shaky, and people may not know why, but they will feel the hesitation. Credibility is the byproduct of inner congruence. Your words and your inner world must match. When they do, your presence becomes solid. Nothing to hide, nothing to mask, nothing to prove. And that transparency is magnetic. 3. The power of consistency. Trust is not built through moments. It is built through patterns. Credibility is the echo of your consistency. Do your actions match your promises? Do your behaviors align with your values? Do you show up the same way in different rooms? People don't need you to be perfect. They need you to be predictable in the best way. Consistency creates emotional safety, and emotional safety is the doorway to influence. When people know what to expect from you, they relax around you. Their guard lowers. Their listening opens. That openness is where persuasion lives. 4. The soft strength of honesty. Nothing makes you more credible than truthfulness, especially truthfulness delivered calmly. You build trust not by pretending to know everything, but by admitting what you do not know, by saying, "I'm not sure, let's find out. I made a mistake, let me correct it. I don't have the full answer yet." Most people fake certainty. Credible people communicate reality. Honesty, real. Humble. Grounded honesty creates instant trust. Because honesty signals confidence, and confidence signals safety. 5. Emotional stability, the anchor of influence. People don't trust those who are emotionally unpredictable. They trust those who stay steady when the room gets tense. Your calmness is credibility. Your ability to regulate yourself when others lose their center, that is, influence. Because people mirror the most regulated nervous system in the room. If you are grounded, they soften. If you are clear, they stop questioning. If you are calm, they begin to trust. Emotional stability is not numbness. It is emotional leadership, a quiet anchor that makes others feel we're safe. We can listen now. 6. Authenticity. The end of performance. Persuasion dies when you try to impress. Credibility is born when you stop performing. The world can feel forced charisma, fake confidence, and emotional acting. But authenticity cuts through all noise. Authenticity is not about oversharing or being dramatic. It is about being real simple, honest, grounded, comfortable in your own skin. People trust what feels genuine. People trust what feels unpolished but true. People trust what feels aligned, not rehearsed. When you stop trying to appear credible, you finally become credible. 7. How credibility makes persuasion effortless. When someone trusts you, you no longer need to push. You don't need to repeat. You don't need to argue. You don't need force. Trust does the work for you. Credibility turns your words into gravity, soft, undeniable, effortless pull. People naturally lean in, naturally follow, naturally cooperate, because their emotional guard is down, and their mind is no longer defending itself. When credibility is high, persuasion feels like a guided conversation, not a negotiation. 8. Becoming the person others believe. So how do you embody credibility? Not through scripts, not through techniques, not through tricks, but through presence. Speak from clarity, act from consistency, lead from calmness, move from integrity, communicate from truth. Credibility is the quiet power of a person who lives in alignment with themselves. And when you embody that alignment, your influence becomes natural, ethical, lasting. In the next chapter, we explore something equally powerful. The language of persuasion, not tricks, not manipulation, but the art of using words like water soft, fluid, yet strong enough to reshape the mind. Words are not just sounds. They are frequencies. They carry emotion. They shape perception. They shift people's internal state long before they change their external decisions. To master persuasion, you must master the language of persuasion, not the vocabulary, but the energy inside your words. Because words don't convince people, feelings do. And words are simply the bridge that carries those feelings from your mind into theirs. Think of language as water, soft, but powerful, gentle, but persistent, capable of dissolving resistance, capable of carving through stone. Tone is gravity. Your voice pulls people toward you or pushes them away. Your rhythm eases their nervous system or overwhelms it. This is the art of speaking so people feel safe, so people feel understood, so people feel willing to follow your guidance. It is not dramatic. It is not loud. It is not forceful. It is quiet influence. 1. Words that land softly. Yet hit deeply influential communicators do not speak to impress. They speak to connect. They choose simple words, but place them with intention. Their language feels clean, uncluttered, almost effortless. Instead of long explanations, they use, "Here's the truth. Let me show you something. Here's what really matters." Short, soft, direct. because the mind resists complexity, but it follows clarity like a magnet. When your words land softly, people let them in. When they resonate deeply, people remember them. 2. The power of pauses. Silence as influence. Most people rush their words. They speak to fill silence. They fear the pause. Influential people do the opposite. They let silence breathe. They let their message settle. They let people feel the meaning behind the words. A pause is not emptiness. It is gravity. It creates anticipation, focus, presence. When you speak slowly and use intentional pauses, the listener's nervous system relaxes. Their mind becomes absorbent. Their resistance lowers. Silence is not a break from persuasion. Silence is persuasion. 3. Rhythm, the pulse that moves people. Every persuasive communicator has rhythm. Not a musical rhythm, a psychological rhythm. The rise and fall of their voice, the way their sentences flow, the softness at the end of a phrase, the warmth in the beginning of a new idea. Rhythm shapes emotion. Rhythm creates immersion. Rhythm turns language into experience. Think of your speaking like a tide. Waves rising, falling, returning, capturing attention through movement. Not volume. When your rhythm is steady, others feel steady with you. When your rhythm is calm, others unconsciously calm down too. This is influence without effort. 4. Emotional weight, choosing words that feel true. Some words carry weight. Others evaporate. Influencers choose words that feel grounded, clear, steady, aligned, certain, simple, real, true. These words anchor the mind. Avoid words that create confusion, pressure, or defensiveness. Should, must. You need to. You always. You never. Those words trigger resistance. The language of persuasion is gentle, respectful, empowering, inviting. Instead of "you should try this," say, "You might find this helpful," or "Here's something that could make things easier." Language that respects autonomy creates cooperation. Language that pressures autonomy creates resistance. 5. Imagery, speaking in pictures. Not paragraphs. The mind thinks in images. Not bullet points. Not theories. Not instructions. When you speak in imagery, you speak directly to someone's imagination. You bypass their logic and access their emotions. Instead of saying "you should feel more confident," say, "Imagine walking into a room and feeling your chest open, your breath calm, your steps steady." Instead of "This will help you move forward," say, "This will lift the fog so you can see the next step clearly." Images create emotional clarity. Clarity creates action. 6. Conversational influence, gentle redirection. Persuasion isn't about telling people what to think. It's about guiding them toward conclusions they naturally reach on their own. Use inviting language like, "What if? Have you noticed? Let's explore this." Or, "One way to look at it is." These soft openings bypass defensiveness. They don't challenge the listener. They include the listener. Your job isn't to force agreement. Your job is to open possibilities. Because persuasion is not pressure. Persuasion is direction. 7. Vocal warmth. The hidden ingredient influence is not in the words, it's in the warmth. People trust warm voices. People relax around warm tones. People feel understood when your voice softens. Warmth signals safety. Safety creates openness. Openness creates influence. A simple shift in tone can turn a neutral message into a persuasive one. Warmth is not enthusiasm. Warmth is resonance, a kindness embedded in your delivery, a softness under your authority. It says, "I'm with you, not against you." That feeling is persuasive in ways logic can never be. 8. Words as water, tone as gravity. When language flows like water, smooth, steady, natural, people stop resisting. When your tone has gravity, calm, grounded, assured, people follow without even realizing they're following. This is the language of persuasion. It's not loud. It's not flashy. It's not sharp. It's soft. It's intentional. It's emotionally intelligent. It is the art of speaking in a way that the mind absorbs and the heart remembers. In the next chapter, we shift into the subtle architecture beneath all influence, the logic of calm thinking, the invisible framework that shapes every yes, every no, every decision people make. Influence is not just emotional. It is not just energetic. It is not just presence. At the heart of persuasion lies something quieter, cleaner, and often overlooked: clear thinking, the calm logic beneath every great communicator. Emotions open the door. Credibility builds trust. Language moves the heart. But clear thinking guides the way. People follow those who think clearly, not loudly, not aggressively, not intellectually flashy, but calmly. Clear thinking feels like still water, transparent, steady, and easy to understand. This chapter is not about debate techniques, not about critical thinking frameworks, not about analyzing arguments like a philosopher. It's about something much simpler: how to structure your thoughts so people feel guided, not pressured, supported, not overwhelmed, and naturally aligned with you without realizing why. This is calm logic, the invisible architecture of influence. 1. The quiet power of clarity. When someone speaks with messy thinking, people feel it immediately. They feel confused. They feel tense. They feel mentally overloaded. But when someone thinks clearly, something inside us relaxes. We feel guided. We feel oriented. We feel safe. Clarity has a neurological effect. The mind opens when things feel simple. Influence begins where confusion ends. Your job is not to sound smart. Your job is to remove friction from someone's mind so their decision becomes easy. 2. The 3 questions every mind asks. Every person listening to you is subconsciously asking 3 questions. What are you saying? Why does it matter? What does this mean for me? If you answer these 3 questions calmly, softly, simply, your message becomes almost irresistible. Because you're not fighting their brain, you're aligning with it. When people feel mentally aligned, they naturally move toward your perspective. 3. The calm logic formula, from fog to focus. Think of your message like guiding someone through a foggy forest. If you rush, they panic. If you overwhelm them, they freeze. If you are unclear, they distrust the path. But if you create a smooth sequence, one clear step after another, their mind follows effortlessly. Calm logic is built on 3 layers. Layer 1, anchor the idea. Start with the simplest possible statement. A single sentence. A grounding truth. For example, what most people miss is that influence is emotional before it is rational. Short, clean, digestible. When the anchor is solid, everything else becomes easier. Layer 2, expand the insight, not with long explanations but with one clear metaphor, story, or example. People understand through images. You might say, it's like trying to move a locked door. If the emotion is closed, the logic can't get through. This makes the idea feel obvious. Layer 3. Connect to their life. People only act when they see themselves in the message. Ask softly. Think about the last time someone resisted your idea. Was it your logic or the emotional lock on the door? This turns abstract logic into personal relevance. Clarity meets resonance. Resonance becomes persuasion. 4. The art of gentle structure. Influence is not about complexity. It's about sequence. A calm, steady structure helps people process naturally. Use phrases that guide the mind, like stepping stones. Here's what's really happening. Let's look at this another way. Notice something important. Think of it like this. They're not commands. They're gentle cues. When your structure is soft but clear, you become easy to follow. And people follow what's easy to follow. 5. Logic without pressure. The soft edges of persuasion. Most people use logic like a hammer. They argue, they defend, they push. But logic doesn't need to be sharp. It can be soft, fluid, inviting. Instead of, you're wrong because, say, there's another way to look at this. Instead of, that doesn't make sense. Say, let me show you something interesting. Instead of, here's the real truth. Say, here's what I've noticed. Logic becomes influence when it stops attacking and starts illuminating. 6. Remove mental friction. The biggest enemy of persuasion is not disagreement, it's friction. Friction happens when someone thinks, this sounds complicated. This feels heavy. This is too much. I'm getting lost. Your mission is to remove friction through simplicity, short sentences, clean explanations, gentle transitions, one idea at a time. Clarity is kindness, and kindness is persuasive. 7. The calm mind leads the room. Your thinking creates emotional cues. When your thoughts are organized, your presence feels grounded. When your thoughts are scattered, your energy feels chaotic. People don't just listen to your words, they listen to your mind. A calm mind creates calm influence. A centered mind creates centered decisions. A clear mind creates clear direction. Influence is not the mind overpowering people. It is the mind guiding people. 8. The invisible gift of clear thinking. When you master calm logic, something magical happens. People begin to trust your judgment. Not because you convinced them, but because you made everything feel simple. You become the person they turn to when things feel confusing. The person who sees the path nobody else sees. The person whose clarity becomes a form of leadership. Influence stops being an effort. It becomes a natural extension of your presence. Because people follow those who bring order to their internal world. In the next chapter, we explore one of the greatest challenges of persuasion: handling resistance. Not by fighting it, but by transforming the emotional energy behind no into gentle alignment. Every act of persuasion eventually meets resistance. Even when your message is gentle, even when your logic is clear, even when your energy is calm and grounded. Resistance is not rejection. Resistance is protection. Human beings are wired to guard their beliefs, their autonomy, their identity. A no is not a closed door. It is a nervous system saying, I don't feel safe enough yet. I don't understand this fully. I'm not ready to let go of what I believe. But here's the secret most people never learn. You don't overcome resistance. You dissolve it. Not by pushing harder, not by explaining more, not by proving yourself. You dissolve resistance by understanding what lies beneath it and gently shifting the emotional energy behind it. 1. Why resistance is natural and not about you. When people resist, they are not resisting you. They are protecting themselves from uncertainty, from loss of control, from risk, from change. Humans fear three things most: losing autonomy, losing stability, losing identity. If your message threatens any of these, even indirectly, the mind rises up like a guard at the gate. This is why even the most logical argument can trigger emotional pushback. Resistance isn't personal. It's primal. And when you stop taking resistance personally, you stop fighting it. You start working with it. 2. The first rule: don't push against the pushback. Imagine someone holding a door closed from the inside. You push, they push harder. That's how most persuasion works. The more you force, the more they defend. Influence collapses the moment you try too hard. So instead of pushing, you step back. You create space. You release pressure. When pressure drops, resistance softens. When resistance softens, influence begins. 3. The nervous system beneath no. Every objection is emotional before it is logical. Behind every "I disagree," there is often uncertainty, fear, confusion, attachment, or simply the need to feel in control. Your job as an influencer is not to crush objections, but to soothe the nervous system, giving rise to them. You don't argue. You regulate. You stabilize the emotional atmosphere, because an activated mind cannot receive new information, but a calm mind can absorb anything. 4. The art of emotional softening. There is a moment in every persuasive conversation when the other person's walls begin to crack, not because you forced them, but because you acknowledge them. The sentence that softens resistance is not, "Let me explain why you're wrong." It's, "I hear you. I see why you feel that way. Let's slow down. That makes sense. I get where you're coming from." These phrases do not concede the argument. They acknowledge the person's reality, and acknowledgement reduces defensiveness. Defensiveness lowers resistance. Lowered resistance opens the door to alignment. 5. The power of gentle curiosity. When you ask questions not to trap, but to understand, the other person moves out of defense and into reflection. Use soft, open questions like, "What feels unclear? What's your biggest concern? What part of this doesn't sit right with you? What would make this feel easier?" Questions shift the dynamic from confrontation to collaboration. Instead of you against them, it becomes you with them. Standing on the same side, facing the problem together. This shift alone dissolves more resistance than any argument ever could. 6. The subtle art of reframing. Reframing is not manipulation. It's gentle repositioning. It's taking the emotional weight off a thought and placing it somewhere lighter. Instead of "that will take too much effort," try, "What if this actually makes your life easier in the long run?" Instead of "I'm afraid of change," try, "Let's explore how small this first step can be." Instead of "I don't see the benefit," try, "Here's how this could remove problems you're already feeling." Reframing shifts someone's perspective without attacking their current belief. This keeps their identity intact, which keeps communication open. 7. The energy shift that changes everything. Resistance is emotional tension. Your role is to release tension with your presence, your tone, your breathing, your pace. They communicate safety. Safety communicates, "You can let go now." You're not being forced. You're not being judged. You're still in control. People don't resist, because they disagree. They resist because they feel unsafe. Make them feel safe, their mind opens. 8. Turning resistance into raw material for influence. Every objection is actually a gift. It tells you where the fear is, where the uncertainty is, where the misunderstanding is, where the ego is protecting something important. Objections show you exactly what to soften, what to clarify, what to reframe, what to illuminate. When you shift your mindset from "how do I convince them" to "what is their resistance trying to protect you," step into a deeper level of influence. Because now you are not battling their defenses, you are guiding their emotions. 9. When no becomes actually yes, there is a moment you will feel it, when the resistance drops. The voice softens, the breath deepens, the shoulders release, the eyes become less guarded. It won't be verbal at first. It will be energetic. They will lean slightly forward, or stop interrupting, or allow silence to exist without tension. This is the moment influence enters. Your job is not to capitalize on it aggressively, but to guide gently. Let's look at this part again. Or, what if we try this one small step first? You don't celebrate prematurely. You don't pressure. You guide. And their no slowly becomes maybe, actually, I think I see your point. And eventually, yes. Not because you won, but because they aligned with you naturally. 10. Resistance transformed. When you understand resistance, you no longer fear it. You recognize it as information, as emotional feedback, as a doorway. Resistance isn't a blockage. It's an invitation to slow down, to listen deeper, to show safety, to hold space, to guide gently. When you master the art of dissolving resistance, you stop persuading people, and people start persuading themselves. In the next chapter, we move to the highest expression of influence, leadership presence. Not authority, not force, but the ability to inspire action simply by the way you show up in a room. Some people influence with words, some influence with strategy, some influence with intelligence. But the most powerful leaders, the ones people follow, instinctively influence with presence. Not the loud kind, not the commanding kind, but the quiet kind, the kind that fills the room without needing to take up space. Leadership presence is not about having authority. It is about being someone others want to trust, want to follow, want to align with. True leadership is not positional, it's energetic. You lead not because you're above people, but because you're deeply in tune with people. Leadership presence is the pinnacle of persuasion. It is influence without effort. 1. The energy of leadership. Before a leader speaks, people already feel them. Their calmness, their steadiness, their clarity, their grounded confidence. Leadership presence is not noise, it is signal. It says, you're safe. I'm centered. We know where we're going. When your energy conveys certainty, people borrow it. They relax into it. They lean toward it. Human beings instinctively follow the most regulated nervous system in the room. This is why presence outweighs skills. 2. Direction without domination. Many people misunderstand leadership. They think leadership is about controlling outcomes, making decisions, telling others what to do. But true leaders guide without pushing. They hold the vision, but they don't force the pace. They give clarity, not pressure. They create alignment, not compliance. Influence becomes more powerful when people feel, I'm choosing this. not I'm being pushed toward this. Leadership presence creates voluntary followership. 3. Vision, the emotional North Star. People don't follow goals. People follow visions, clear, emotionally meaningful destinations. A vision is not a list. A vision is a feeling, a picture of what life could look like, a future that feels better than the present, a direction that pulls people forward naturally. When you paint a vision not with hype, not with intensity, but with calm conviction, people feel it in their body. Your vision becomes their possibility. Your clarity becomes their motivation. Leadership presence makes the future feel real. 4. Emotional containment, the leader as a stabilizer. Everyone is calm when things go right. But leadership presence is revealed when things go wrong. Challenges, uncertainty, conflict, unexpected pressure. In these moments, most people collapse into anxiety or urgency. Leaders do the opposite. They breathe. They slow down. They regulate the emotional temperature of the room. They become the anchor in the storm. When you remain centered, others find their center through you. When you stay steady, others rise to your steadiness. Influence flows from emotional stability more than from any strategy. 5. Listening like a leader. Leading is not talking more. It is listening deeper, not listening to respond, not listening to fix, but listening to understand the unspoken fear, the hidden hesitation, the quiet desire, the emotional conflict beneath someone's words. When people feel heard, they become open. When people feel understood, they become loyal. Leadership presence is created through listening with your mind, your intuition, and your emotional sensitivity. 6. Boundaries and standards. The quiet strength leaders are not soft. They are compassionate and firm. They protect the space. They protect the mission. They protect the standard not by force, but by embodiment. They don't demand excellence. They inspire it. They don't punish disrespect. They reflect self-respect. They don't chase loyalty. They earn it. Leadership presence is rooted in self-respect. When your boundaries are clear, your influence becomes clean. 7. The magnetic calm of certainty. People don't follow the loudest voice. They follow the voice that is sure, not arrogant, not rigid, not controlling, just quietly certain. A leader's certainty comes from knowing their values, knowing their direction, trusting their intuition, and staying aligned even when others doubt. Certainty is a frequency. When you hold it, others synchronize to it. This is why one calm person can change an entire room. 8. Leadership without words. Some leaders influence simply by how they walk into a room. Their posture, their breath, the softness in their eyes, the groundedness in their steps. Leadership presence is non-verbal. It's transmitted, not declared. It's the feeling people get around you. I can trust this person. They're real. They're stable. They won't break under pressure. They know who they are. This emotional recognition creates natural loyalty. People want to follow someone whose presence feels like home. 9. The leadership mindset. We, not I. Manipulators think, how do I get what I want? Persuaders think, how do we both win? Leaders think, how do we all grow together? Leadership presence dissolves ego. It replaces self-interest with shared interest. It replaces control with collaboration. It replaces pressure with inspiration. When people feel your mission includes them, they follow without hesitation. 10. Becoming the person others rise around leadership presence is not a skill. It is a transformation. It is who you become when you regulate yourself, when you embody integrity, when you communicate with warmth, when you listen with depth, when you lead with vision, when you act with consistency. Leadership presence is influence elevated. It's persuasion that lifts people. Its impact created through calmness, not force. When you cultivate this presence, the people around you begin to rise, not because you pushed them, but because your presence unlocks their strength. In the next chapter, we enter the highest level of persuasion, self-mastery. Not influencing others, but becoming the kind of person whose very existence inspires. Imagine conversation as a river. Most people splash on the surface talking, reacting, debating, explaining. But masters of influence move beneath the surface, where the real current flows. Conversational alchemy is the ability to turn ordinary words into emotional impact, not by using fancy language, not by memorizing scripts, but by understanding the invisible dance happening between two nervous systems. It's not about what you say. It's about what your words do inside someone's mind. It's subtle. It's fluid. It's art. A great conversation doesn't feel like persuasion. It feels like connection, like alignment, like two minds breathing in the same rhythm. This chapter will not teach you how to win conversations. It will teach you how to create conversations people feel, conversations that open hearts, relax defenses, and transform thoughts without force. This is conversational alchemy, where words become movement, where tone becomes atmosphere, where you stop talking to people and begin talking with their inner world. 1. The cinematic mind speaking in emotional frames. The human brain thinks in scenes, not bullet points, not theories. When you speak in emotional frames, you don't just communicate, you transport. Instead of saying, "You should be more confident," paint a moment. Imagine walking into a room, feeling your chest open, your breath steady, your mind clear. When your words create scenes, people step into the message. They don't analyze it, they experience it. That is the heart of conversational alchemy, turning concepts into experience. 2. Flow state conversation. Great conversations have a rhythm, a natural rise and fall, a softness and intensity, a spaciousness that allows ideas to breathe. Alchemists don't rush. They don't push. They don't fill silence. They let the conversation settle, then guide it softly. Their flow feels like slow water, steady, warm, inviting. People stay in conversations not because the information is new, but because the experience feels safe. Flow creates retention. Flow creates emotional memory. Flow turns conversation into connection. 3. Speaking to the person behind the persona. Most people talk to the mask. Others are wearing the confident mask, the defensive mask, the distant mask. But conversational alchemists speak to the person underneath. This requires noticing the small things, the slight drop in voice when someone gets vulnerable, the look down that signals uncertainty, the micro tilt of the head that signals curiosity, the pause before answering that signals internal conflict. When you speak to the inner person, their outer defenses soften. The conversation shifts from, "Here's my point," to, "I feel seen." And when someone feels seen, they become naturally influenceable. 4. Emotional bridging. Meeting people where they are. Alchemy happens when you don't start from your message, you start from their emotional state. Are they skeptical? Are they overwhelmed? Are they excited? Are they tense? Are they uncertain? You build a bridge from their state to your message. Like saying, "I can feel. This feels heavy. Let's slow it down." Or, "This is exciting, isn't it?" Or, "It makes sense that you'd feel unsure here." When you meet people where they are, they follow you where you're going. 5. The weight of your words. Some words land weakly. Others land with resonance. The difference intentionality. Alchemists choose words with weight steady, clear, aligned, real, grounded, certain. These words don't pressure the mind, they anchor it. Your language becomes a stabilizing force, one that others unconsciously lean into. 6. Guiding through questions, not assertions. The most persuasive conversations aren't full of answers. They're full of questions that open internal doors. Instead of "Here's what you should do," say, "What feels like the next small step for you?" Instead of "You're approaching this wrong." Say, "What's the part that feels most confusing?" Questions bypass ego. They shift someone from defense to reflection. Reflection is where transformation begins. 7. Emotional tempo matching, then leading. Every conversation has a tempo: fast, slow, tense, playful, guarded, open. You don't change the tempo instantly. You match it first, then gently lead it. If someone is fast-paced, you start a little faster, then slowly slow down. Their nervous system follows your descent. If someone is tense, you match the seriousness, then gradually add softness. When tempo synchronizes, trust forms. And when trust forms, influence becomes subtle and effortless. 8. The invisible art of holding micro-silences. Alchemists use silence like punctuation, not long, dramatic pauses, but micro-silences. A breath before a key point, a small space after an insight, a moment of stillness to let something sink in. Micro-silences make people feel the words instead of just hearing them. It turns your voice into atmosphere. It turns your message into resonance. 9. Conversational presence, the real magic. The deepest transformation in conversation doesn't come from logic or phrasing. It comes from presence, the feeling that you are truly there. With them, not thinking ahead, not performing, completely attuned. Presence makes your words heavier. Presence makes your silence fuller. Presence makes people open without knowing why. Presence is the soul of conversational alchemy. 10. Transforming words into impact. When you combine all of this flow, presence, emotional attunement, imagery, rhythm, your conversations stop being exchanges of information. They become experiences. They become atmospheres. They become emotional journeys. People walk away feeling lighter, clearer, more grounded, and they connect that feeling to you. This is the essence of conversational alchemy. You don't persuade people, you transform how they feel while talking to you. And in that transformed emotional space, your words naturally become impact. There is a moment in every journey of mastery when you realize something profound. Influence is no longer something you do. It becomes something you are. It shifts from technique to identity, from effort to presence, from external strategy to internal alignment. At this level, people follow you without you asking. They listen without you persuading. They trust without you convincing. Because your influence is no longer carried by your words, it is carried by your being. This is the final evolution of persuasion embodiment. 1. Influence begins inside you before you lead others. You must lead yourself, your habits, your emotions, your reactions, your inner state. People pay attention not to what you claim, but to what you consistently embody. Calmness, clarity, self-respect, integrity, stillness under pressure. When these live inside you, people feel it instantly. It's subtle, but undeniable. You become the person others unconsciously mirror, because the human nervous system gravitates towards stability. 2. Identity over technique. Most people try to act influential, controlling their voice, copying scripts, mimicking confidence, trying to look unbothered. But real influence cannot be acted. The body reveals the truth immediately. If you're anxious, they feel it. If you're pretending, they sense it. If you're performing, they disconnect. Identity beats performance every time. You don't need to act influential when you are influential. Embodiment is influence without the mask. 3. Embodied alignment. When your inner and outer worlds match. The most magnetic people are not the loudest, or the most charismatic, or the most dominant. They are the most aligned inside and out. Their actions match their values. Their words match their intentions. Their energy matches their message. Their presence matches their truth. This alignment creates a field around them, a field of integrity. People trust alignment. People follow alignment. People relax around alignment, because alignment feels safe. 4. Emotional gravity, the soft pull of centeredness. When you are centered, others feel it as emotional gravity, not pressure, not force, not intimidation. A quiet pull. They lean in. They lower their guard. They open. They trust. Your calmness becomes their comfort. Your clarity becomes their clarity. Your belief in them becomes their self-belief. This is emotional gravity, the invisible force of someone who has mastered their internal world. 5. Embodied confidence, the confidence that doesn't need proof. Most confidence is loud. It tries to be seen. It tries to be validated. But embodied confidence is silent. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need to win. It simply exists. Embodied confidence feels like steady breaths, relaxed shoulders, unrushed replies, ease in silence. It is the confidence people feel but cannot describe, the confidence that doesn't need proof because it is rooted in truth. 6. Influence through integrity. When you embody influence, integrity becomes non-negotiable. Integrity is not moral perfection. It is internal consistency. It is doing what you say, saying what you mean, and living what you teach. Integrity gives your words weight. Without integrity, influence collapses. When your actions, choices, and presence reflect the same core, people follow you not because they should, but because they want to. 7. Becoming a mirror of possibility. People don't follow you because you're impressive. They follow you because they see themselves differently around you. When someone feels more capable, more stable, more grounded, more understood in your presence, that presence becomes addictive. You become a mirror of their potential, showing them a version of themselves they had forgotten. This is the highest gift of embodied influence. You awaken self-belief in others, not through motivation, but through resonance. 8. The end of control. The beginning of magnetism. Trying to control others drains your power. Trying to impress others weakens your presence. Trying to persuade others creates resistance. But when you embody influence, you release control. You release performance. You release pressure. And ironically, this is when people follow you most. You lead through magnetism, not management. Through resonance, not argument. Through identity, not effort. Influence becomes the natural consequence of who you are. 9. When presence speaks louder than words, there will come a day when someone asks you, how did you convince them? How did you change their mind? How did you get them to follow your lead? And you won't have an answer. Because you didn't do anything. Your presence did. Your stillness did. Your clarity did. Your alignment did. Your embodiment did. Influence stops being something you practice and becomes something you radiate. 10. Becoming the person people rise around. To embody influence is to become the person whose presence raises the quality of the room. The person who brings calm, who brings clarity, who brings direction, who brings safety, who brings higher standards just by being themselves. Not because you demand it, but because your energy elevates others. This is the highest form of persuasion, not convincing people to rise, but becoming the example that makes rising feel natural. When you embody influence, you stop leading with words. You lead with identity. And that is a kind of power that never needs to be asked for because it is felt, trusted, and followed instinctively. As we reach the end of this journey, take a slow breath in and allow everything you've learned to settle gently into place. Because persuasion, real persuasion, is not about techniques, tricks, or perfectly crafted sentences. It's about presence, identity, alignment. It's about becoming the kind of person others naturally feel drawn to, not because you ask, but because your energy makes them feel safe, inspired, and understood. If tonight's audiobook gave you even one shift in perspective, one moment of clarity, one insight that opened a new door inside you, then let that be your reminder you are already on the path. You are already expanding. You are already becoming someone others listen to, trust, and rise around. And this journey doesn't end here. You and I were just getting started. If you want more long-form audiobooks designed to help you grow while you rest, to expand your mind while your body relaxes, to elevate your inner world while you drift into sleep, then make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Not out of pressure, not out of urgency, but because this space, this calm, intentional, transformational space was created for you. Before you close your eyes tonight, offer yourself one quiet promise. I choose to grow a little more each day. I choose to lead from calm. I choose to influence from identity. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And until our next journey together, sleep deeply, grow continuously, and let your presence speak louder than your words.